Hello, our friends, Evolutionary Energy Arts family.
Hello there. Welcome back.
Welcome back, guys. So, we were just doing a video on Evolutionary that's pretty hard hitting, and we might think of it in terms of, wow, this is the apocalypse, this is Revelation, and then immediately connect it to Judgment and Judgment Day and all these concepts. Again, in our Western minds, this is so hammered into our subconsciousness that even when we're not consciously thinking about things, we have these points of reference that are constantly coming up in the back of our minds.
It's cyclical. It's very cyclical. A lot of this information is part of the overall program. However, I've seen so much of it utilized to control people and get people to behave in certain ways that they might not otherwise behave if they knew the truth and the heart of the whole purpose of existence.
Yeah, and boy, that's another big road to go down. What is the purpose of existence? In some ways, it simply is giving us a break from our normal state of being.
And our normal state of being is one of perfect love. And this is information that I got a little while ago when I was having my own struggles, which I do a lot. I have a lot of my own struggles. I have a lot of my own demons, and I work through them in various ways, and I get information from the guides. And sometimes it really helps me. And that was something that came forward that really helped me when they said that, you did not come here necessarily to learn about perfect love, because you came from perfect love. You came from absolutely perfect love. You came here for different types of love, different aspects of love, different experiences, messy love, clumsy love, embarrassing love, all kinds of different love. They're out there for us to experience. But yeah, that's where we come from, is perfect love.
So this is obviously a system in a world in which we get to explore opposites, and we see the opposite of that perfect love in the very power structure of this system. And when we get this concept of Judgment Day, like one day in maybe each of our lives when we face quote unquote judgment. I've had friends that have passed on and come back, and they are totally changed. Their life goes down a totally different path than it was going down. And a lot of people that lose a loved one can go through the same trauma as if it was themselves in some way, and they are drastically changed. Often it gives us a sense of appreciation, of really kind of savoring every moment. Whether it's something as simple as throwing a ball for a dog and just seeing that perfect love in that dog's face and that excitement and that happiness, because that animal is totally, totally in the moment. And we might think that we're the pinnacle of intelligence on the planet, but in reality, we would be sorely mistaken in many ways. Again, everything you see, every creature is source having a different experience. And this is part of the understanding that we have in the more high vibrational ages. We understand that we are all individual cells acting out our own particular dramas in a myriad of different ways, responding to sometimes similar situations, sometimes very, very different situations from other individual cells operating in, say, the bigger body of the earth, or even going bigger in the bigger body of the universe itself. And, that is perfectly all right. How can we have so much horror and tragedy in this world if Source loves us? Well, it's because this is all a temporary experience. It is completely intended to be a temporary experience. It is not our normal state of being, as we are again down here to learn lessons. So when we look at Judgment Day, are we going to be judged by Source, what we would call Source, that which is all, has created all, and yet is even beyond all that is created? No, because again, this is a free will experience, a free will ride, and it's the free will that lends to the duality. Without free will, you really wouldn't necessarily have the duality. We need to have all things be possible in order to gain the greatest learning from our experiences.
Mm-hmm. And I think it's really important to note that we're definitely not alone. We're surrounded by beings, by ancestors, by guardians, by angels who love us so very, very much. And sometimes I make this, I see these pictures of these guardians and these angels, and it's like a huge game of charades. They are going to go by karmic law because you are loved. They are not going to break karmic law and come down and live your life experience for you, but they are going to talk to you through different measures. They are allowed to do that. They're allowed to talk to you through music. They're allowed to talk to you through other people. They're allowed to talk to you through animals. And animals are really, really amazing because for us to be human, it's like sometimes for us to be our best version of being human, we don't look to ourselves. We don't look to other humans. You can look at animals for that unwavering love, because they go through so much, and so many of them are treated so badly, but they just turn around and they love some more, and they love more, and they love more, and they don't stop loving. So our animals truly are very angelic, and not everybody deserves them. I just, maybe that's mean to say, but I don't think everyone deserves the love of a pet, because it is so enduring, and it is so steadfast, and it is so honest and pure. This is where I think a lot of people can get really good therapy, is through their animals, because there's actually this mirroring effect that happens with animals. And when their heart chakra is going off, it activates your heart chakra, just like two tuning forks that are facing each other. You can activate one tuning fork, put it face to face with another tuning fork, and it activates that tuning fork. I mean, everything is very, very scientific when if you want to, you can boil things down to the science. But that's not the way that I see the world and the universe. I see it differently. I see it, I guess more magically, seeing between the lines, seeing between the worlds, seeing things in ways that other people don't. And that's okay too. That's my way. That's how I do it.
As Cindy was speaking, it was hitting me. It's like a one-way mirror, right? That's a piece of glass. Here you have Superman being interviewed. He's got handcuffs on. He could bust out of them at any time. And it's kind of curious, too, that the picture that came up was Superman, because that's very metaphorical in some ways, because, we are all supermen, superwomen. When you get down to it, we are much more than we realize, much more. We could kind of break out of the chains anytime we want to. But it's not, the key to breaking out of those chains is not through overwhelming force. It's not through aggression or anything. No, it's exactly that normal state of being, which is the pure love that Cindy was talking about. That breaks the chains that weigh down our hearts, so to speak. And even though we cannot all see these beings that are watching us from the other side, and even though, we may have had conversations with them at length about what we're going to do, what we want to accomplish, etc., when they're on the other side, it's like, nope, you're not in the game directly. You cannot interfere with the game. You can't just step in there and, bump somebody so they look down and see the ball. They got to find the ball for themselves. That's the whole purpose of the game. And so in many ways, yes, life is like a game where our guides, our angels, these other beings are behind the one-way mirror. They could see us the whole time. They're watching everything you do. Every moment. We are never, ever alone again. And, I think a lot of the ancient peoples, the ancient cultures really understood this much, much clearer. And it's been driven away from our culture. So, are they going to judge us? No, they're not going to judge us because they've been in here too. They've been in here too. They've jumped into these flesh suits and they have had these experiences too. They know the temptation of a good donut or a pizza. They understand the temptation of alcohol or other types of substances. They've been down these roads. They understand all that we go through, and Source understands, and the creator of this universe understands, because, again, the creator of this universe has had experiences like we are having right now. That's a big reveal. I remember doing a video where we were talking about that Joan Osborne song, what if God was one of us? Yeah, it is written, ye are gods. Again, I do think that you can gain a lot more knowledge going down the Western mystery tradition than going into the fundamentalist books and scriptures, etc. Yet you can also gain some if you use discernment and build that discernment. There are nuggets in there in all scriptures, not just biblical, not just from one tradition. And I do think, again, when we vary our approach and we look to different belief systems and what they say, like, going into the Tibetan Book of the Dead, going into the Egyptian Book of the Dead, we see some things that might have a little bit of agreement, but might be a little bit different too. So then we start to, decipher for ourselves. Well, what do we think? What is our opinion? We see the scales. These are scales on a cross. But then we look to Ma'at, and we look to the Egyptian tradition, which is far older than anything biblical. And in fact, a lot of the biblical tradition comes either from Egypt or it comes from Sumeria. Weighing the heart against a feather. Is your heart as light as a feather? As we see Thoth, and we see Anubis, and we see Horus. Again, who sits in judgment of us on Judgment Day? Well, the answer is quite simply we do. That's the big reveal. No, there's not going to be some guy on a throne that's going to cast you into a lake of fire. That's just not the way it works. It's so far from the way it works. It really sticks out. If you start going and delving deep into all these different traditions around the world, you'll find the difference between the more fundamentalist mindset and everybody else's. And then, when you go and you see what people have experienced when they've been on the other side, it really is. For the most part, the people that I know firsthand, it's an overwhelming sense of pure love that completely changes their lives. Can other people have different experiences? Absolutely. And if you've been traumatized, if you were a soldier in war, if people tried to kill you and did injure you and you ended up killing somebody else, absolutely, the torment and the torture of those acts could absolutely twist our psyche and get us thinking we deserve to be judged. And then your mind will create that construct. Buddha said the only hell that exists in the minds of those that believe and expect it to exist.
Just recently, we had a family member lose her mother, which is very devastating for her. And she asked me, where is my mom? Where is my mom? And I went to look, and I found it very curious that her mom was in a place called the Halls of Time, and she had not yet met up with the family members that were waiting for her. She was going through the halls of time. But what was going on through those halls of time is she was looking at one life after the next, after the next, after the next, and looking at the progression of her soul. There is no one there to judge you at all. That's something that you do for yourself. And that's why they do talk about third person therapy. When you step out of a situation and you judge it for yourself, this is very much how it is when we pass on and we leave this life. We step back and we look at the situation and the tools that we were given and the things that we were told, and how did we go about utilizing this information, and how did we go about our actions, and what did we decide to do. And it's just an observation. It's not a judgment. So all the things that happen in your life have a purpose, a bigger purpose than probably what's in the very front of you, much bigger purpose than what you see at face value. There's such a deeper meaning going on. So, I mean, that can make it very difficult to decide, well, if something is happening to you, it's like, why is this happening to me? It could be a series of events that's happening to you to help mold you, because we all do write a contract before we come down here of things that we wish to accomplish. So you're very much judging against yourself. It's not that you are being judged. No, not at all.
Absolutely. You could say that it is the higher self, if you want to put it that way. That really, again, it's up to us to decide what our path is. And yeah, the system and events can sometimes waylay us for a while. We can get stuck in a period of deep introspection. And we do see that. We've seen that. I mean, I had a family member that had seen a conflict in the Korean War. And it took like 30 years. 30 years Earth time. And this was a good question somebody else brought up too. Saying, well, time's just a construct and there is no time on the other side when we're out of the body. Yes, that's true. But at the same time, time is passing in the earth realm. And so in our time, it was, like 30 plus years since he had passed, that he was just basically trying to work things out. Just trying to work things out because of the traumas of war that had so scarred him. Yeah, for him, it might have seemed like in an instant or an eternity. It's again the individual and their sensation, their perspective, which each one of us, again, it's unique. We will run through different possibilities. We will see things from a new perspective when we're on the other side. And then we decide what's next. And for the majority of people, it's another venture in to work on the things that we might have not hit our goals on. But not always, as I've shared with you, like my mother, she was going to reincarnate again quickly, but then decided to go back up into her higher self. And so that is a big change and a big decision. And, again, it's her decision. It was her decision. Nobody judged her. She was, quote unquote, a Catholic, but she really didn't believe. That's the thing. She really didn't believe, but she still went through the motion. And yet something just never captivated her, really. Even on her deathbed, she still thought death was a mystery.
Mm-hmm. I mean, so many people, they go toward mainstream religion because that's all they know. They have this craving that they need something deeper. They need to know more about what's out there. So they go and they explore whatever is handy. And it is that mainstream that's handy. personally, I can speak from my own experience, that feeling that we get when we're exploring that, and you're like, this just doesn't quite seem right, because it's not quite right. And it's not going to be quite right until you find that within your soul, until you are sitting in the seat of your soul and you can sit there and say, now I know that this is my truth. And that's key. What is my truth? So you sit and you ask yourself, what is your truth? And your truth is profound. It is the most important truth that there is. And we really have to help get that through ourselves, that, what is my truth? What is Mike's truth? What is your truth? That's the most important truth of all.
So again, we are the ones that sit in our own judgment and decide our own future. And, if you're talking about a heart as light as a feather, then maybe it's time to go back up into the higher densities. And, the lessons have been learned. And so it's each individual's choice. So again, no fear-based mindset is going to lead to truly the ascension process accelerating. If fear is the big enemy. It really is. Fear constricts. It's just that simple. Just, when you think about the energy of fear, it pulls us inward. It shuts us off. When you think of love, it expands outward. It connects us.
Indeed.
Source bless and namaste.
Namaste.